Hey guys, I want to tell you about the case of Lynn Bobo. She was a 20-year-old nursing student, actually, who was abducted from her home. She was kidnapped and raped and murdered. She disappeared on April 13 of 2011. And I think probably the best way to tell you about the case is to read off the timeline. At 4:30 a.m., she woke up super early to study for an exam. She was in the nursing program. I think at the University of Tennessee. And she woke up super early. She was a dedicated student, very smart, and she was serious about the nursing program for sure. So she woke up super early and proceeded to study. Her parents left for work, and let's see, I think it was 7:30. Yeah, she woke up at 4:30. At 7:30, she received a call from her boyfriend. His name was Drew, and he was actually hunting on property that was owned by Hallie's grandmother, which was nearby. And they talked for a while, and then at 7:42, Hallie made the last phone call from her phone. After that, any of the calls or texts were incoming, but they went unanswered. At 7:46 a.m., a neighbor called his mother at work and told her that he heard a scream. And the neighbor's mother then called Hallie Bobo's mother, Karen Bobo, at work and told her about it. At 7:50 a.m., Hallie's brother Clint woke up because the family dogs were barking, and he saw a man with Hallie outside. He thought that the man was Drew, her boyfriend. He said they were facing each other in the garage. They were both kneeling down, and they were talking back and forth. He said that Hallie sounded upset, and she said something like, "Why?" or "No, why?" And so he thought that maybe Drew was breaking up with her or something. So then at some point, I guess, okay, the dogs were barking. Clint wakes up. He looks out and he sees Hallie outside with this guy out in the garage. And then at some point, his mom called and she spoke to Clint and she said, "Clint, that's not Drew. Get a gun and shoot him." And Clint replied, "You want me to shoot Drew?" Because he was still thinking it was Hallie's boyfriend. At 7:55, Hallie's mom called 911, but because she was calling from her office, her call went into a different dispatch center for a different county than where their home was located. And at home, Clint looked outside again and he saw the man dressed in camouflage walking with Hallie into the woods. And at that point, he realized that the man with Hallie was larger than her boyfriend. And then he tried to call Hallie on her cell phone, and then he also tried to call her boyfriend's cell phone too, but neither call was answered. At 8 a.m., Hallie's mom called the house again, and Clint told her what he saw, and then Hallie's mom told Clint to call 911. And then Clint got a loaded pistol and went outside, where he found bloodstains belonging to Hallie in the carport, and then he dialed 911. At 10 minutes after 8, the police began to arrive. And then at 8:17, the cell phone pings showed Holly's cell phone moving away from her home tower, heading north. Her cell phone continued north to a wooded area near Interstate 40, where her remains were eventually found. Between 8:30 and 9 a.m., the cell phone stopped moving for 20 to 30 minutes. And then the cell phone then began traveling south again using a different route. And then at 9:25 a.m., the last cell phone ping came from Holly's phone in the area where her phone and the SIM card for her phone were later found. Wow. Taken from her own home and raped and murdered. It's a really interesting case when you consider how much time lapsed between when she was kidnapped and raped and murdered and when the trial actually took place. One of the defendants actually confessed, and he implicated his brother and his brother's friend. And then it looks like, if I have this right, it looks like the friend actually committed suicide. All three men were arrested, and it looks like the friend committed suicide. Let's see, they were arrested in 2014. And of course, they were found guilty. The two brothers, Dylan and Zach, they were found guilty. And on September 22nd of 2017, Zach was found guilty, and he was sentenced to life plus 50 years behind bars. And in January of 2018, Dylan was found guilty, and he was sentenced to 35 years in prison. I think he actually took an Alford plea, but don't quote me on that because I'm not sure. I think he did, though. And remember, he's the one who confessed. So this case is just heartbreaking, of course, to think that this young woman was working so hard in the nursing program and just such a good person and such a kind person, and some total monster kidnapped her from her own home. One thing that I think really stands out with this timeline was her mother's reaction to what she was hearing while she was at work. She called her son and said, "Get a gun and shoot him." I'm with her. I mean, oh my gosh. Can you imagine knowing that your daughter's being kidnapped and you're, far away and there's nothing you can do to save her? So this is just a heartbreaking story. Just terrible. I think this should be my next essay. I should do an essay on this case because I think this is one that is certainly very interesting, especially when you consider there were initially 6 men arrested. I mean, how disgusting is this? 6 men? Are you kidding me? But at least the 3 men, who were eventually charged with these crimes, like between the 3 of them, not one of them had a conscience. It's just disgusting.